When I pulled my Harley into a Chevron gas station off Interstate 5, I noticed a white Chevy Suburban at the pump across from me. As I was slowing down, a girl in the back seat caught my eye. She leaned toward the window and silently formed two words with her lips. "Help me." Her eyes locked onto mine, and what I saw there wasn't a kid throwing a tantrum or being dramatic over candy. It was real fear, the kind that makes your stomach drop before your brain can explain why. I knew right away I didn't have much time. The driver was still filling the tank, but once he was done, he'd be back on the road in maybe 2 minutes. That meant I had around 90 seconds to decide whether to act or watch a child who'd already been missing for 9 days disappear down the highway again. I didn't have time to overthink it, so I did the only thing that made sense to me in that moment. I rolled my Harley straight behind the Suburban, got down on one knee, and acted like my bike had just broken down. I apologized, pretended to check the tire, and stalled as best I could. I kept him there long enough for the sound I'd been hoping for, the sirens, to finally cut through the heat and noise of the parking lot. That's how Olivia Sandoval was pulled out of the back seat of a dangerous situation. She walked away alive because a stranger decided to trust his gut, even if it meant being wrong. I've been riding motorcycles for 31 years. Over all those miles, I learned to rely on two things without hesitation: the feel of my Harley under me, and that quiet instinct that tells me when something isn't right. That afternoon, it was screaming. I'd stopped at that Chevron just south of Coalinga, California, because I needed gas and something cold to drink. Late August in the Central Valley is no joke. The heat sits on you like a weight. 100-degree days turn the highway into a shimmering blur, and the leather vest on your back feels like it's been welded there. I was 53 years old at the time, a pipeline welder who'd spent 3 decades chasing jobs all over the western states. I'd stopped at more gas stations than I could count, places just like this one. But this stop felt different, and I couldn't explain why at first. Then I saw the Suburban more clearly. White Chevy, Nevada plates, tinted windows, a man in his 40s filling up the tank. He looked so ordinary it almost felt practiced. Khaki shorts, polo shirt, baseball cap pulled low. The kind of guy you'd forget seconds after walking past him. Except I wasn't forgetting him. I kept watching, even though I didn't know what I was looking for. Then he opened the back door to toss in a bag of chips he'd bought inside. That's when I saw her. She looked about 10 or 11, sitting way in the back seat, pressed hard against the door like she was trying to disappear through it. Her brown hair looked unbrushed. Her face was too pale for the middle of summer. And then her eyes found mine through the small opening in the door. They held me there. She didn't make a sound. She didn't need to. Her lips moved just enough for me to read them clearly, even from where I stood. "Help me." The man shut the door fast. Just like that, she vanished behind dark glass. I stood there holding the gas pump, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, trying to process what I'd just seen. I told myself it could have been nothing. A kid upset with her dad. A family argument. A custody dispute. Maybe even a runaway being brought home. There were 100 explanations that didn't involve danger. But none of them fit those eyes. That wasn't anger. That wasn't frustration. That was terror. I memorized the license plate the way you burn something into your brain. Nevada. 7. Alpha. Charlie. 4. 9. 2. I studied the man next. Late 40s. About 5'10". Slim build. Brown hair under the cap. No tattoos I could see. Nothing that stood out. The pump clicked on his side. Almost full. I checked the display. He'd be gone in under 2 minutes. I had maybe 90 seconds to make a choice. One that could either save a kid's life or wreck an innocent man's day. I knew which one I could live with. The pump shut off. He screwed the gas cap back on and walked toward the driver's door. In less than half a minute, he'd be pulling onto I-5, heading south toward Los Angeles, and whatever I thought I'd seen would be gone with him. I pulled my phone from my vest and dialed 911 while walking toward my bike. The dispatcher answered quickly. "Sir, what's your emergency?" "I'm at the Chevron off exit 334, southbound I-5, I said. "There's a white Chevy Suburban, Nevada plates, 7 Alpha Charlie 492. There's a man and a child inside." The child just mouthed, "Help me," through the window. "I believe she's in danger." She asked for a description, and I gave it. White male. Late 40s. About 5'10". Medium build. Brown hair. Baseball cap. Khaki shorts. Blue polo shirt. "He's about to leave," I said. "I need officers here now." "Sir, Do not approach the vehicle, she warned. Units are on the way. Can you stay on the line? I can do better than that, I said, and hung up. I walked to my bike and did something I'd never done in over 3 decades of riding. I staged a breakdown. The timing mattered. I rolled my street glide off the kickstand and walked it forward, lining it up directly behind the Suburban just as the man started his engine. I dropped to one knee, stared at my rear tire, then stood up with my hands on my hips, shaking my head like I'd just gotten bad news. The Suburban started to back up. I raised a hand. Hey, brother, hold up a second. He stopped. The window rolled down. His face was calm, friendly, the kind of expression that puts people at ease. What's up? He asked. Think I've got a problem here, I said. Rear tire feels soft. Might have picked up a nail. You mind giving me a minute? I don't want to move her and mess up the rim. He glanced toward the station exit, then back at me. I'm kind of in a hurry. I get it, I said. Just 60 seconds. If I've got to call a tow, I'll push her out of your way. He looked at the exit again. Something passed through his eyes, annoyance, maybe worse. But the lot was tight, and my bike was blocking him clean. Making a scene would draw attention, and that clearly wasn't something he wanted. He exhaled. Fine. 60 seconds. I nodded at the guy like I appreciated his patience, then crouched down beside my bike. The rear tire was perfectly fine, but I acted like it wasn't. I pressed on the rubber, checked the tread, and shook my head like I didn't like what I was seeing. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it was echoing inside my helmet. 45 seconds. No sirens yet. I stood up and walked over to my saddlebag, pretending to dig around for a tire gauge I already knew was sitting in my vest pocket. I moved slow on purpose. Even checked my phone, acting like I was searching for a roadside assistance number. 30 seconds. Still nothing. I could feel the tension rising inside the Suburban. I saw it in the way the man drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, and how his eyes kept snapping to the mirrors, then back to the exit. This wasn't someone late for dinner. This was someone who didn't want to be noticed. Someone who didn't want to be remembered. Hey, I said casually, walking back toward the bike. I think I can move her. Just give me one more second. And then I heard it. At first it was faint, almost like I imagined it. Then it got louder, closer, until the sound filled the air and sent a chill straight through me. Sirens. 2 CHP cruisers came flying off the highway exit and swung into the station, blocking both lanes of the driveway before anyone could react. The man's calm expression cracked for just a split second. In that brief moment, I saw what was underneath, pure, cold panic. Then just as fast, the smile came back as he threw the Suburban into park. What's going on here? He asked. The officers didn't answer him. They approached slowly, hands near their holsters, voices steady and controlled. They told him to step out of the vehicle, to keep his hands visible, to move slowly. I stayed by my bike, barely breathing, praying I hadn't just ruined an innocent man's life over something I misunderstood through tinted glass. Then one of the officers opened the back door. The girl, the same one who had silently begged me for help, broke down completely. She burst into tears and ran straight into the officer's arms like she'd been holding it together by sheer will until that moment. That's when I knew. Her name was Olivia Sandoval. She was 11 years old. She'd been missing from Reno, Nevada for 9 days. The man driving the Suburban wasn't her father. He wasn't family. He wasn't anyone who should have been taking her hundreds of miles from home. His name was Garrett Buckner, 46 years old, and when officers ran his information, their expressions changed in a way I won't ever forget. Olivia had been taken from a park near her house while riding her bike. 9 days of fear. 9 days of her parents not knowing if she was alive. 9 days of hoping every phone call was the call. And it ended in a Chevron parking lot because I chose not to ignore a feeling. After things settled down, I gave my statement. My hands were shaking now that the adrenaline had nowhere to go. I told them about her eyes, the way she mouthed those words, and the instinct that made me refuse to let that Suburban drive away. I figured they'd thank me and send me on my way. Instead, the senior officer stepped closer and held out his hand. Mr. Cisco, he said, what you did today, blocking that vehicle, slowing him down. You gave us the time we needed. If you just called and let him leave, we might not have found her. That hit me harder than I expected. I shook my head. I didn't do anything special. I just saw something that felt wrong. I couldn't let him go. The officer nodded. That's exactly what special looks like. Most people see something off and convince themselves it's not their problem. You didn't. He glanced over at Olivia, who was sitting in the back of a cruiser with a female officer. She was still crying, but she was safe. That little girl is going home tonight because you paid attention, he said. Don't ever forget that. The news crews showed up about an hour later. I didn't want to talk to them. I wasn't looking for attention, and I didn't feel like a hero. I just felt drained. But Olivia's parents were on their way from Reno, and the officers suggested I stay. So I did. They arrived just after sunset. Diana was out of the car before it fully stopped, running toward Olivia and screaming her name. Marco followed a few steps behind, moving slower, like he was afraid to believe what his eyes were seeing until it was real. I watched from a distance. I saw Olivia bury her face into her mother's neck. I saw Marco's shoulders shake as he held his daughter. I saw a family put back together after 9 days of absolute hell. And something inside my chest finally gave way. Something I'd been holding tight since the moment that girl looked at me through the glass. When things calmed down enough to breathe, Diana looked around the parking lot until she spotted me. She walked straight over, tears still streaming, and wrapped her arms around me without saying a word. She held on like I was the only solid thing left in her world. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I couldn't trust my voice, so I didn't speak. I just stood there and held her, a stranger thanking another stranger for bringing her child back. When she finally stepped away, Marco came forward and took my hand in both of his. The officer told us what you did, he said, his voice breaking. How you stalled him. How you blocked the exit. 9 days, we thought we'd lost her. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. Because sometimes, doing the right thing doesn't come with the right words. Only the weight of knowing how close everything came to ending differently. For a moment, nobody said anything. I think they thought I was about to fall apart. Maybe I was. I'm just glad I was there, I finally said. Glad she's going home. Marco shook his head, his eyes still wet. You're more than that, he said quietly. You're a miracle. He pressed something into my hand. I know it's not enough, he added fast. Nothing could ever be enough. But please. I looked down. It was his business card, and folded under it was $100 bill. I closed my hand and shook my head. I can't take this. You saved my daughter's life, he said, his voice sharp with emotion. You can take whatever I have. He swallowed, then looked straight at me. And if you ever need anything, anything at all, you call me. I don't care what time it is. You're family now. You understand? I looked at the card, then the money, then at a father trying to repay something that can't be repaid. I handed the cash back, but kept the card. I'll keep this, I said, and I'll call someday just to check in. But you don't owe me a thing. Just take care of that little girl. That's all the payment I need. After that, the story spread fast. It went national. Biker saves kidnapped girl with quick thinking. Fake breakdown helps police stop child trafficking suspect. My face ended up on morning shows and evening news. Every time, I said the same thing. I wasn't special. I didn't have superpowers. I just paid attention. And anyone could have done what I did if they were willing to listen to that quiet voice inside that says, something's not right. The Sandoval family started a foundation in Olivia's name. Its whole purpose was simple. Teach people what to look for, how to spot the signs, and what to do if something feels off. Somehow, I became an unofficial spokesman. I spoke at schools and community centers. I talked to parents and kids. I explained what to watch for and how to stay safe. And I always said the same thing. You don't have to be a hero. You just have to be willing to look. Really look. When your gut tells you something's wrong, you listen. You don't talk yourself out of it. You don't tell yourself it's none of your business. Because that kid in the back seat, that scared person at a gas station, they might not have a voice in that moment. You might be the only one who sees them. And if you look away, you might be the last chance they ever had. Thank you for listening to this story about a man who pretended his motorcycle broke down so someone dangerous couldn't get away with a stolen child. It was inspired by real-world training efforts that teach everyday people how to recognize the signs of trafficking and take action. If you ever see something suspicious, call 911 or your local trafficking hotline. You don't have to confront anyone. You just have to speak up. Olivia is 14 now. She's in high school, on the honor roll, and training with her school's swim team. She still has nightmares sometimes, but they don't come as often. She's in therapy. She's surrounded by people who love her. She's healing, one day at a time. Every year on August 23rd, The anniversary of the day she was rescued, I get a text message from her. Just 2 words. The same 2 words she mouthed through a gas station window when she was 11 years old and hoping someone would understand. Thank you. And every year, I text back the same reply. Always. Because that's what family does.